Hello, everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color.
It's hard to get stuff done when there's no one to do it for you.
Biggest value, the biggest marketing opportunity I think any photographer has is their existing client base.
Photos help us remember to remember.
Let's start off with you guys telling me who you are. Introduce yourselves.
Okay, I'll start. So we're a couple, Amir and this is Amir and I'm Nirit. We founded Pic-Time together. I'm a photographer and Amir is developer. It's his third company, so he's like a serious entrepreneur. Serial. Very serious entrepreneur, and also did it for the. This is actually the fourth, third. Okay, and I was completely on photography and mainly focused on art and some magazine lifestyle stuff like this. And somehow the stars came together, and we decided to create Pic-Time. It started from a need that I had as a photographer, and long time ago, before any solutions were out there. And you know, the way it took time, the wait was long. And in the beginning, we were doing it for a long time. Now, in the beginning, it was only for big studios like Portrait Innovation and like Life Touch. It was as a white label for them, like a software for them to use. And then 5 years ago, we decided to go back to the original idea, which was the solution for the independent photographer. I did a reconstruction for the whole website of how things look like, and then we launched after a year.
So I'm going to ask this because you two have some things in common with my wife and I. It's not exactly the same, but there's a lot of similarities. So when you guys talk and even when you interact, it reminds me of myself and my wife. So I want to ask this question.
Quiet when she speaks.
You were both doing your own separate things, right? You were both kind of like, I mean, you were together, but you were doing your own separate things. And then at some point, it started to go like this, right? And you're working together to fulfill a need that you had, Nirit, right? But you're working together because Amir's bringing his skill set into the mix now for what you need. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah, that's precise.
Can you tell me what that part was like for you two as a couple? That's what I want to know.
It's very interesting. It's like the first interview that we're getting into this part. Usually this is something we go, and we start talking about the product.
Well, this is the part. Okay, so here's why. Because not only do I think I know it resonates with me, but there are a lot of photographers, in this business that work with their spouse or their partner in some way or shape or form. And some people are like together all the time, every day. And some people just help each other out here and there. So I think that this part, where you were separate doing your own things, and then there was this part where you started to come together to work together. I think that part's going to resonate with a lot of people, actually.
It's interesting. I don't think that there was a point that we sat together and said, you know what, we like our qualities or our strength kind of complement each other, and let's do it together. It wasn't like this. It was kind of how things happened. So Amir stopped the last business was ended, and he had suddenly free time, so he could look at what I'm doing. And then I came with the need And it was in the area, kind of in the area where he was working, because he was working for the print industry. So connecting the images with the print is what I initially wanted, like asked for. So, and I think that in his personality, he's very containing person. And so I think he kind of saw the need and was like easily opened up for it, and was easily accepting like the idea of, okay, this is interesting. And from that point, it started rolling. Like he started doing it, and then I was in a not a very, very full time at that time. So I was kind of looking at what's going on, and it took me a few years to really dive into it. So it wasn't like a decision from the beginning. It was kind of a long process, but when it happened, boom.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so it didn't just happen like that. It wasn't overnight.
No.
Right. And so it was kind of just something that kind of happened on its own. Right. And then all of a sudden you realize that it has happened, and it really blows up, and it gets really, really big pretty fast. Right. You guys kind of went like this, like on a rocket ship in a sense, wouldn't you say? So then at that point, how do you deal with it? What do you do to not lose your minds?
Work a lot.
Really though, just work and work and work.
Continuously working.
Yeah, but I think that the enthusiasm at least the beginning part, for me, at least like 4 years in a row, and I didn't do stuff like this. I was working in photography, and I was always diving, but it was for a day of shooting, and then the editing is kind of, more loose, and then a day of shooting. Mm-hmm. And this one is like 4 years working like crazy. And it wasn't, and again, for me at least, it was something that I couldn't do it differently. Like this is how I do it. After 4 years, I start negotiating, this is like taking too much. The family is kind of hurt by we need to balance it,
Right.
Because it's the two of us, and it's from the morning until the evening. So in some point, after being off balance which felt very balanced, because I was and we were both very into it. So after 4 years, we kind of started, maturing. This is like a more mature part of the business, where you start structuring things, getting more people. The beginning is just like craziness, but in a good way. I loved it. It was like full with creativity and love things you explore. And I met a lot of photographers, which I love. Like this is the part where what I love the best. Amir will talk what he loves best. So it was just being great that time.
Well, that's a good segue, because I want to ask Amir, what do you love the best about it? What about all of that and what has happened do you love the most?
The most? It's interesting also to hear Nirit always when describing this part, because sometimes it's
different.
No, actually, not different, but it's coming from the outside. It's not something we talked too much about it.
Yeah.
But at the beginning when we started and we worked mainly for these white labels, Nirit was mainly saying, go north, and she went on her business, and I was running along. And actually, when we decided to go to the original strategy with independent photographers, then this is the point where you dive in. It's not right. It wasn't like it was a decision that we set and said, okay, but simply you wanted to redesign everything.
Yes.
So
yes. Mm-hmm. This is where we emerged.
Actually, we fight a lot, meaning.
No, we don't fight.
But we get along in work much better than we get along at home.
That's very interesting.
Yes, and this is like I said, because, and it's not that we do not, I don't know, I'm missing the right word in English.
No, we're very passionate people.
Yeah,
like,
so there's a,
yeah, you're both passionate. Yes.
There are heated discussions, but it's always, I think we managed to, at the end, to get to a decision that looking in most decisions, that we look back at these decisions that we were like pulling in different directions, and eventually we decided on how to go. Looking back, I think both of us liked the way we ended up with. So I think at home we debate more and we stay this way.
yeah.
Well, with your business, I find it interesting that because you're both very, very individual. I mean, everybody is, but you are both very distinct individuals. You both have your own skill sets, your own abilities. And with the business, they kind of come together and complement each other, right? And that's, I don't know, that has to be a big piece of the reason for your success, is that you both brought these different things to the table, right? And you both kind of complement each other, right? To build Pic-Time. So now talk to me a little bit about Pic-Time and go into what Pic-Time is specifically and why it's different and what's so great about Pic-Time.
I can start and then you'll continue in a more like practical way. But I think that if you look like in a very zoom out kind of perspective on this, I think that it's exactly what you said. I think that we're two individuals with different qualities and that are very like strong. So you should see the Bat Mitzvah movie we did for our daughter. We were fighting for our ideas like the whole night until 4 a.m. The Bat Mitzvah started at 9 and we were both like this.
You were both half asleep.
It's a true story. So we're both very passionate about what we live in. So for me, the design and the aesthetic is very crucial. And for Amir, bringing the technology to like and doing things that are new and innovative, and with all his experience from the last companies. So I think these two elements, the design and the technical aspect, are just like working great together. And this is what I think is different, because I think that the founders, passion, you can see it in the product, in each product. And I think that in our product, you can see those two elements very strong. Because, for example, when you get to the store and you see the images from the gallery already in the products, with an algorithm that calculates like the way the viewing data and brings the images that the client liked most. This is like a point where you see like both them, like it looks very good and it's also very, very like smart.
So it's a really, you guys kind of embody, so this is interesting to me. The two of you kind of embody form and function, because you can have something that's beautiful and doesn't work very well. Right. Or you can have something that works very, very well and it doesn't look good at all. And so you guys kind of bring both of those aspects into the marketplace with Pic-Time. I had it pulled up and I was going through it, and it's interesting. So I haven't dove into actually using it much, of course, but just looking at it, right? Like that's what draws you in, is this beautiful aesthetic, right? It's clean, it's enticing, like, right. So so good. So now here's my question, because this is almost exactly like my wife and I, because my wife likes everything to be beautiful. She likes everything to look a certain way, and she tries very, very hard, and she's very good at it. And then a lot of time it's up to me to build what she wants or to create what she wants because she doesn't have the technical expertise, or we just remodeled a cabin and she's not a carpenter, but she says, I want this and I want that, so I have to go out and build it. So Amir, answer this for me. What sort of challenges do you run into? Because Nirit wants everything to look a certain way, but sometimes there's a functionality piece. Like for me with my carpentry, I have to say, well, that's going to cost $24,000. I can make it look like that, but I don't want to spend that kind of, so then you have to like make some concessions and you have to come to some sort of a compromise sometimes. Yes?
Yeah. Well, of course, all the time. Compromise. Yes, sometimes it's also compromise. In lots of cases, usually, and we focus on ourselves because this is interesting and both of us are here, but this is a company. We have
right.
I think really amazing that they really personally like. But I think that in the company and as a kind of a philosophy, it's not a written rule or something like that, but if there's a debate and there's somebody with a passion about it, usually we follow him. So I'm not saying if something is obviously wrong and that there'll be a debate, but as a rule of thumb, that if you see in the debate that somebody has more passion about it, usually we give it more, leaning towards that. I think it's natural for most people, but I think also between us, so it's not always compromise. Sometimes,
sure. Sometimes one side wins.
Yeah, sometimes I'll follow Nirit, and she didn't convince me, but I'll follow her. I'll give you an example. We raced through that, but at the beginning when she said, 5 years ago, we decided that we'll take it for the independent photographers, and I wanted to redesign. Mm-hmm. And I said, why do we need to redesign? It's working very good. We have this white labels, there's lots of users. It's fine. Why do we need to redesign? I said,
It's fine.
We have to redesign. So we had a fight. We were living in the States at that time. We were living in Berkeley. And I remember we were driving up Marine Avenue, yes. And I said, okay, we redesigned. And the next morning she came, she said, I see an interface with circles.
Oh no, this was a very bad phase of the...
We went
through
5 months.
Phase.
We went through 5 months and we redesigned it, and the interface was made of circles. Everything was in circles, big circles, small circles. There is one survivor of these circles, is in the interface, in the dashboard. You can see the photos, the highly rated photos of the account are still in bubbles. Like, this is the only survivor from this interface. But we worked 5 months and we came, and I thought it's a beautiful interface. Yeah. And we worked on that, and then after, when it started to form, and she looked and said, it's not good.
Yeah, wow.
It's beautiful. And Asaf is the COO, is the third member of he's usually on the back, but he's...
He came in front?
Yeah, and we were sitting, the three of us, and we both said, it's beautiful. It said, no, it's not good enough. And both of us backed off. We were totally unconvinced. It's not that we were convinced, but Nirit was very clear about it. And we went another redesign. So this is why it took us another 6 months. And this is this design. And to be honest, when we came with this new design and I looked, I said, yeah, this is nice and this is nice. And only when we started to see clients, in workshops, I started to realize that it was a very good decision. But I wasn't convinced. I just followed.
I feel like you guys are talking about my whole life. This is just how things are all the time. So it's funny. I take comfort in that because so you both also seem to have a lot of perseverance, right? Like, because you keep going. right? Sometimes it's bumpy, right? It doesn't always go smooth. And of course, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff because you guys are a couple and you're running this company that you've built, but you keep going and the results speak for themselves. Tell me one thing that you think stands out about Pic-Time over anybody else.
I think it, in a way, is, of course, I think there's a lot of things, but I think in what you said, there's one thing that around that is that we keep going. It's like it's part of the DNA of the company to try to get it better all the time. So we keep developing. We're running all the time. Like somebody is chasing us. I mean, people are chasing us, but we're really trying to improve all the time things and innovate. And there were big debates about, for example, the last the last one was the art gallery, but the one before that it was the marketing. Marketing was also something like we had 70% done in one concept. And we had a group of photographers that we saw that they are doing good in the system, that we saw that they're selling very well, and we said that they know what they're doing, and we started to approach. Some of them were famous, some of them were not famous. And at one point, we said we need to change concept. We went back and did this marketing, all the apps, the automation apps, and all this platform. And the argument against that was, maybe we can do this small thing now, and we can wait with this. Again, this argument would not stick in Pic-Time. I think it's if we see something that we understand and we say this is where it should go, we're trying together, at least trying, not always succeeding, but. This is something very strong that we try, and I think that this trying to innovate and change all the time is tied up with the message which is written in Pic-Time, which we do not look for optimize. Like the photographers are not the end goal for us, the end game. Like we're not trying to optimize the return from the photographers. We're trying to increase the photography market. So this is the professional, photography. So, for example, with the store that we introduced the store, one of the main things was to expand the amount of people that a photographer can sell. Initially, we thought that the additional market is albums. Now we see that it's albums, but much more than that.
Yes.
We're looking for ways, and this is part of the strategy and part of the products we developed, and we are keep developing, and part of the roadmap is how can we bring more business to the photographers. This is really something. I think this is a good goal with the ambition to innovate. It's something that fits. It gives us a lot of runway.
You said it. You said innovate. That's the word that has been going through my mind as you've been talking, because even though you have a great product, a great service, it's fantastic the way it is right now. But yet things keep going, technology keeps improving, and you're going to continue to innovate and keep going and going. I think that's a really big deal. And I love the fact that your goal is to help photographers sell more and make more money and bring more revenue in. That's good for everybody.
Yes, that's really the bottom line. And we have, from different angles, there's a long strategy that we are really bought into that. We are really at the beginning of the things that we do in that sense. And this is really exciting because we love to develop from the design side and to develop from the technological sides. And we just yesterday we started the beta for distributed storages. So it's not something that the clients see. But for example, we're getting more and more that people from Australia, all the files will be on closer cloud services.
Oh, sure.
And people from Europe, it will be on, so trying to distribute this. So, it brings a lot of technical problems. And
Right,
issues.
right.
So this is just an example, but the most exciting thing, I won't say too much, but it can be a teaser. This is something that we're working on. We call it Pic-Time 2. So it can give you the magnitude of what we're
The
working
sequel.
on.
Yeah.
Yes.
I didn't mean to cut you off. You keep talking. Keep talking. Say a little bit about it.
So this is something. It's getting into the final stages of the design, and we will soon start the development. We already started to architect the high-level architecture for that, and this is something very exciting. So it's another step in this goal that we said we're to build more tools, strong tools for photographers to sell more. And for example, we get a lot of it of why don't you do contracts, or why don't you do studio management, or why you do websites. Yeah, we're trying to focus on this mission.
Right.
So I'm not saying these things are not valid. They are valid, and they are helping photographers. But for us, is how can we improve this channel that will bring more traffic, more sales, more brand recognition for the photographers. That's the.
I love it. I love it. You guys, this was a pleasure. This was a lot of fun for me.
For us too.
Thank you for answering my questions.
Very refreshing. Like it was very kind of interesting interview.
Do one thing. Tell people where to go to check out Pic-Time.
Just on our website, I think it's a good start there. And from there, you can get into like a lot of places. So www.pictime.com with a hyphen, and we are there. We have a very very active community on Facebook. We're also active on Instagram, and I think that this is like the main channel.
Well, we at White House Custom Color are more than happy to partner with you guys, and I appreciate your time today. Thanks again. You guys were great, and I am going to go talk to my wife about you guys right now. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, you guys.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching this conversation presented by White House Custom Color on YouTube. Be sure to check out our other content and click that subscribe button right there. Right there. It's there somewhere.